Hey folks, welcome back to Endowed Africa. Chris here, coming to you live from central Pennsylvania. Wherever you may find yourself around the world, wherever that might be, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Had a special feature earlier with Evans Larrabee, a small-scale commercial farmer from Ghana. Interesting conversation. Unfortunately, he ran into just a little bit of how things go in Africa, because his network dropped off, and so we lost Evans earlier, but we got through a good portion of what we're going to talk about, including what was happening with him. And we discovered that he's doing some new directions with his farm, including entering the dairy business, and also he's going to be planting cashews. Anyway, so for those curious about small-scale farming, check him out. Let's see who's here. Who's here tonight? Who we got? Anybody? Let me see who we got here. We got Marius, Jacques, Kyle. Hey, Kyle, I haven't seen you on in a few days. The Notorious G. Okay. Let's see who else we got. Hendo is here. Anthony, Erica. Good to see you again, Erica. Following on my cell phone. Okay, Erica, cool. Does that mean you have load shedding? Gentleman Inflatables. Azioba. Has anyone seen President Trump's hair? He looks distinguished as natural gray hair. No, I have not seen that. Interesting. Flip Duplessis, welcome. Lezan, hey, good to see you, Lezan. Gareth, Drian. All right, cool beans. People are starting to stream in now, a little bit slowly, but we're getting folks in here. So thank you all for coming into the channel. Welcome once again. So today I'll do something a little bit different. Seemed like a good time not to be focused on the misery and the idiocy and the stupidity and the frustration, all those things going on. At least I felt that way. I don't know if you feel that way, but let's take a break from that for a little bit. We can talk about that during the stream, but I thought that today we talk about, a few more things, something more interesting. And along those lines, I've decided that I'm going to talk today about a place that's near and dear to my heart, a place I've been many, many times, a place that I hope you'll find interesting, and you can ask any questions you want. I'll do my best to answer them. We'll talk about it, but what I'm talking about specifically is Südtirol. I'll see what's going on. Yeah, my microphone's acting up again, I see. So let me see what I can do here, folks. I'm going to disconnect my microphone and reconnect it. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better. Let me get back to the audio source. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. Let me try to tune in myself and see how it sounds. Get indications the sound quality is poor. Sorry about that, folks. This wasn't a Zoom problem this time. Apparently it's another problem. It worked perfectly fine earlier in the conversation with Evan, so I don't understand what the deal is here, but strange situation here. Anyway, so God bless it. My phone is not playing nice. Okay, here we go. Try to get to this. Okay, what is going on? What do you mean sign into your account? Why am I signing my account? This is not what I need right now. Ah, gee, many crickets. You gotta love Google. Okay, here we go. That's not what I wanted either. Anyway, back to, oh, come on. Sorry, folks. Just trying to make sure you guys can hear properly, and it's not working because I can't tell myself. My channel, there we go. All right, finally, it's starting to load here. All right, good. By the way, the photograph that you guys see at the beginning of the stream is Monkey Bay. That's right, Monkey Bay in Malawi, on Lake Malawi or Lake Nyasa, depending which side of the lake you find yourself. But still sounds kind of bad, doesn't it? What is the deal here? Really strange. Yeah, I don't understand why that's doing that, folks. Sorry about that. Strange. Tunes is there. Ice, Hendo, Jacques. Watch Liverpool. You're going to go watch soccer. Okay. Hey, Yanni. Okay. It's not quite the good sound quality. I recorded the video earlier. It was perfectly fine with the same software, with the same thing. So I don't understand what the problem with that is. Not really. What I could try to do is this here and switch it to the default microphone and then come back and see if that does the trick. Well, here we go. There's the one on the, that's the microphone that's on the camera, and we'll see if it gets any better there. Yorita, good to see you again. Welcome back. There's a tough lady right there. Let me see what we got now, if it sounds any better. Okay, see if it sounds any better. Doesn't change when I change mics. That's odd. Okay, it sounds better on this end. Let me go back to the Yeti. All right, so they were back on the Yeti now. See if that sounds any better. No, sounds, well, I don't know what the deal is. Okay, you guys can hear it. That's fine. It's not horrible. It was really bad on the stream yesterday, which really sucked because the interview with Talon Stanford yesterday was, I thought it was amazing. Whatever you guys think, I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I really enjoyed it. No, it's not the trouble. I'm going to have, Yanni and I were talking about a virtual mixer, and I think I'm going to have to put the virtual mixer on here. I've just been holding off because I figured some things out. By the way, in case you don't notice, I do kind of change the shelf behind me there. You see some new things on there periodically. No one ever points that out. It's not static, ladies and gentlemen. I'm changing things around. Yanni, what's this going on? Okay. Otherwise, move it a foot further away. Yeah, I could do that. Try that. There you go. Hey, Blakeman, good to see you there. And let's see what else. Yeah, Joe's best mate is here. Ranger Jake says, how am I? I'm well. Sounds like it's set too high. It's clipping and then distorts. Let me cut it back a little bit there. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. I didn't change any mic settings and it worked perfectly fine, and now it's just acting up. Anyway, hopefully that does the trick, folks. All right, like Easter eggs, I'll keep an eye on your shelf from now on. There you go, Ozzy-Oba. That's exactly what they were, Easter eggs. I put those up there just like a programmer does, just to keep your attention, see who's paying attention. So there's one new item on the shelf today and one missing item. So we'll see. No, the gremlins, they're not gremlins. Those are actually trolls. And the trolls, too far away, can't see. Oh, well, come on, Tunes. What's with your eyesight? Here, let me make myself a little bit larger. Maybe that'll help you guys out. But anyway, yeah, I do change that stuff up. So let me do this here, just in case anybody subscribes to the channel or becomes a member of Chris White Africa. We don't want to miss the zombie climbing the Mahalingsburg. So there you go. Land of the free, clever arrangement. Well, thanks so much. Yes, well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Big Daddy Liberty is don't trust the commie, right? Yes, today's word of the day is a freedom. 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 There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Doug, good to see you there. Yep, okay, so gremlins in the mic could be, I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. Let me turn down the mixer gain. Maybe that's better. I've just adjusted it downwards, and I'm not hitting in the red anymore. That might have been a problem. Yeah, when I move. Well, maybe Chris needs to go. If I leave, it'll all be better. Yeah, the mic is probably too close. There you go. All right, excellent. So, yeah, we all need that freedom, Erica. Same here. Right, folks, so today I thought I'd talk a little bit about... sounds better. Well, thanks. Yeah, I made a couple adjustments there, and the problem was probably me. I was probably booming into it too much. All right, guys. Yeah, adjusting the mixer down a little bit, so I'm not hitting in the red levels. I'm just below that now, so that should help. Good. What a wonderful word. Yes, Blakeman, I agree. It is an amazing word. So for those who were able to tune in earlier, and it wasn't very many people, I realized that there was load shedding. President Ramaphosa was on, for those in South Africa, with his call-in show. It was like watching a local radio station. And there were other things going on. So we had a very small turnout for the stream earlier with Evans Larrabee. It was pretty good. Evans himself got cut off at about 42 minutes because his network dropped off there in Ghana. But it was quite interesting to talk to him in that first 40 minutes or so. And then I just wrapped up the last 20 minutes. If you want to watch that, that's one of those streams I kept to an hour. So go check it out. That's with Evans Larrabee. Speaking of streams, let's talk about what's coming up. Thank you to all of the 50 people who currently tuned in. Appreciate you all being here. Really appreciate it. Aha, Anthony, where's the clock? It's missing. Well done, Anthony. There's the clock. All right, that's well done, Anthony. Anthony is paying attention. So Anthony caught that it was the clock that got removed, and it was replaced by something else. Since you know which was taken, Anthony, you can probably figure out what the replacement was. All right. Yanni thought it was a plate. No, that was a clock. That's a clock from Japan, folks. There you go. I got this at the when I was in Japan for the Rugby World Cup. Pretty cool, huh? Look at that. Pretty spiffy. Anyway. Now that was one of those good fortune things. When I arrived in Japan, I was still on active duty. I hadn't retired yet. So while I was on my active duty leave, the Status of Forces Agreement in Germany allows active duty service members to use the military postal system, which is just U.S. government's postal system, but handled by the military overseas, and we pay the same rates that you do in the U.S. So in order to mail a box back, I would just pay the price that I have to pay to ship from one part of the U.S. to another, rather than what it would cost to actually ship a package back from Japan. Taking advantage of that, before my ID card expired, I went to the Postal Service. Unfortunately, the first base I was at, the Postal Service was closed, But I did find out at the hotel that the military maintains in Tokyo that they had a postal service. And so I was able to use that twice before I left Japan and before I was no longer on active duty during my my holiday, my leave. And I shipped that back in a box along with some other pretty cool things, including that samurai sword that I showed folks previously. And also lighten my load because, the airlines are chintzy. They try to take all that money from you. So, yeah. So I was able to send a lot of stuff back to myself, including a lot of the programs from the World Cup games, because going to 18 games, those magazines weigh quite a bit. It will fill up your bag. So I was able to mail those back. That's something I'll never be able to do again that inexpensively, but it's the last time. So anyway, just another thing I thought about before I went there. There's Robin. Hello, Robin. Good to see you again. Dopey Smurf. Number one, social distance and taxis for Number two, number of ICU beds before lockdown. It was, I think, around 2,800, 2,700. And I don't know what the figure is today. I do know that Texas has 3 times as many ICU beds in the state of Texas with 19 million residents to what South Africa has for the entire country. Kind of sad. Good evening, the brew. Mic is still distorted. We see the MEC of health on the news all the time. But how Tang Health is, what's that? What does the fruitless purchase of 10 mil? You guys are having fun now. Hey, Blues Pixie, I think it's been a while since I've seen you on here. Good to see you. Well, welcome, folks. What I want to talk about today, let me go ahead and get into that, is I was going to talk about something a little bit different. Specifically, let me get this up on the screen. Where are we at? Where's my browser? That's the first browser. I want the second browser. So there we go. Yeah, I want to mention this again, ladies and gentlemen. So as you know, I promote businesses in South Africa free of charge. And this is one of our subscribers has this business. It's called Embroidery Box. Check it out if you want to order some things from them. I'll put the link in the chat there so you guys can get to it if you're curious. I mentioned this yesterday, but I want to mention it again today. Cool beans. Kobus Janse van Rensburg loves to stream. Well, Kobus, I love your name. That's an awesome name. Kobus Janse van Rensburg. I love it. Are you wearing a flat cap, Uncle Neyman? Yeah, it's a Rugby United cap. And that is the one I'm wearing today. So I want to talk to you today, guys, about South Tyrol. There it is. Come on, back there. All right. So instead of whinging about everything, we could talk about bad things. But, let's talk about somewhere interesting. This is a province in Italy which belonged to Austria for a millennia. The people who live there are overwhelmingly German speakers. And so there we go. Your aunt is waiting on my call. Yeah, so the South Tyrol, sorry, you guys are throwing me off there now. That's the original. I'm trying to find it. Here you go. All right, so this is a map of Central Europe, and you can see where my mouse is scrolling around there is Austria, Germany to the north. You see Munich up there. To the south, you see Italy, and you see Austria. This is the rest of it. That is the province of Tyrol with its capital of Innsbruck. But Tyrol is just one part of Tyrol. There's also East Tyrol or Osttyrol with its capital Lienz over here, which is physically separated from Tyrol. And then there's South Tyrol. And South Tyrol is actually in Italy. And this is South Tyrol. So it's all of them actually. Sorry, North Tyrol, East Tyrol, and South Tyrol. And South Tyrol was awarded to the Italians for their participation by changing sides during the First World War. At the end of the First World War, it was taken away from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was dismembered. And South Tyrol became part of Italy. Today, the province has about 500,000 residents. And it's predominantly German-speaking. At the time, it was 90% German. Today, it's 2/3 German. But that's because this southern part down here, Trentino, which was also historically part of the province, is a province where they encourage lots of Italians to migrate into, and it's now overwhelmingly Italian-speaking. So let me find, I have a map here to have the actual breakdown. Come on, where's it at? That's not it. I had a map, now it's gone. It had the actual linguistic breakdown. Sorry about that, folks. There it is. There it is. So this is a linguistic breakdown of what South Tyrol looks like. And this is an area that's entirely mountains with some lovely valleys and lots of interesting agriculture. I just lost 10 people. Was this boring? 10 people just dropped off the stream. Okay. So, right. Yeah, it is on my side. It's not you guys. Something wrong with my microphone. I don't understand why. And it's hit and miss. It's inconsistent. It doesn't do it all the time. I don't understand why. So, anyway, what's this? Somebody says the green. What's that? The Green Hills of Tyrol. Yeah, so South Tyrol is in Austria today, still today. East Tyrol, which doesn't appear on this map, but you can see on this map the linguistic breakdown. The green is German. The darker green, of course, is overwhelmingly German. Italian-speaking in the south. And then in the eastern part of this province in blue is where people speak Ladine. Ladine is a Rhéto-Romanche language, which there's other languages like it spoken in Switzerland, but only a handful of people. 43,000 people speak the language total, and they live in that part of South Tyrol. It's an old language that was related to Italian or Roman way back in the day. And they still speak it there. But the province is very prosperous. It is overwhelmingly successful. Historically, South Tyrol has a very low unemployment, and that's because it's an autonomous province within Italy. Despite that, there have been a couple periods of terrorism, irredentist terrorism, to break away and become part of Austria or get independence, but mostly to become part of Austria. Took place back in the 1950s. There were terrorists, and then again in the 1980s there was a number of terrorist incidents in which they blew up communications towers, power lines, and things like that. But the province has largely avoided violence because the government in Rome allows the province autonomy, and it does its own thing. So it's kind of cool. They do their own thing, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, fantastic agriculture. And if you go down the map, let me go back to the map here very quickly. So I'll get to the other map that you can see. So let me blow up a little bit here. All right, so on this map, you've got Innsbruck right there. You can see my mouse. And you go down here. This is the Brenner Pass. This is the pass that gets from Austria into Italy, the Brenner Pass. And the Brenner Pass is where South Tyrol starts, and it runs down to the south. The capital of the province is Bozen in German, or Bolzano. Yep, that's right here. Bozen right there. There you go, Bozen, which is right down here in the center of the province of South Tyrol. And that city is overwhelmingly German, but people also speak Italian there. It's pretty cool. Anyway, South Tyrol, thought I'd share a little bit about with that you guys today rather than just rant about some other things. So where do I get my information from? Well, other than being a historian and knowing the history, I also have primary source and secondary source documents, things I read. So this is a book by Martin Kofler, and it talks about East Tyrol, or Ost-Tirol, in the Dritten Reich, 1938 to 1945. That's a book talking about the Nazi history of East Tyrol. That's from Austria. This one here, wherever I go around the world, I like to collect tales and fairy tales and legends and things like that. So this is by Bruno Malknecht, and this is Südtiroler Sagen, or tales, the South Tyrolean tales. So, like the Sagan of Iceland, you know. So quite a few of them here. So lots of different things. I keep track of that sort of thing. And then this here is by Rolf Steiniger, and this is Südtirol im 20. Jahrhundert. This is South Tyrol in the 20th century. So check it out. Yeah, there's a good. Obviously, this isn't going to help the folks who don't read German, but these are some of the sources I get for reading things. And the last thing I want to show you is just some really beautiful scenes. This won't come up so well on the screen because I really can't display it. I don't have a second camera set up right now, but check this out. This is from ADAC, that's the German travel agency. And this is a tour book, a coffee table book for South Tyrol and the Dolomites. And more people are leaving. So apparently this is not something you want to hear about. Anyway, so it's quite a lovely book. Maybe I'll scan some of these pictures later. I'll show you guys. But the countryside, the mountains are absolutely gorgeous. South Tyrol is a lovely place, beautiful place to go for vacation, wonderful place to go skiing if you have interest in historical things. There's also a spa there in Murano. Quite lovely. Beautiful place. You should check it out sometime. But very lovely. Lots of mountains, mountain glades, beautiful scenery. It's a wonderful drive through South Tyrol as you work your way up to Austria and Germany, or the opposite way, work your way down to Italy. It's quite lovely. I used to go to Bozen, or Bolzano in Italian, which is the provincial capital. And you drive right by the Autostrada, which is the Autobahn or highway, right through the middle of the province, through the valleys that get you up to the top to get to the Brenner Pass. And when you go through Bozen, it's just right there on the highway. You get off, and I used to go up there all the time and go shopping and buy fresh vegetables. The vendors were almost all Italian speakers. I didn't speak Italian very well, even though I lived in Italy. I'd only been there a short time. So I would speak in German, and they spoke German and understood me. And I could understand enough of their Italian, so we managed to get by. It was pretty cool. But Bozen's a lovely place, a city of about 105,000 or thereabouts, so not a tiny settlement, but the biggest city in the province. And the next biggest city is Marin or Murano. Those are the German and Italian names. And in Marin, it's about 40,000. So it's a quite lovely, beautiful place. Let's see what else people have to say here. So, Coda says, love listening to this, learning more stuff. Jacques says, do you know if Italy and France will come to the aid of Libya? There's a massive fleet approaching from Turkey. No. neither will likely come to the aid of Libya. France is decisively engaged in Mali and the Sahel. That's really diverting a lot of their attention. Have I ever been to Delta Wood? No, I have not, Tunes. Never been there. Cobus deleted a message. Wonder why. Azioba. Oh, no, you guys talk interesting stuff. My dad was Swiss from Neuchâtel. Okay. Hey, Marvin, good to see you. You missed the history lesson. I was just talking about South Tyrol and showing people maps and explaining what was going on in South Tyrol and telling people a little about it. But South Tyrol, for me, when I was stationed in Italy, was a 2-hour drive. And since South Tyrol, Sud Tyrol, it was a German-speaking region, and I spoke German, it was kind of cool. In fact, the first weekend I went up there, I visited the Dolomiten, or the Dolomites, which is a German-language newspaper published in Bozen. Since I lived in Italy, it didn't cost anything extra for post, so I signed up for an abonnement, or a subscription. Laden has just subscribed. Well, thank you so much for getting the zombie climbing the Mahalichtsberg. Thank you so much for that, Lans. Appreciate it. Welcome you to join the team here. Oh, he sent the message twice. Okay, Cobus. I just saw the one deleted. Anyway, so yeah, so it was. So I signed up for a subscription to the Dolomiten, and imagine this: I'm an American living in Italy, receiving a German language newspaper on a daily basis, delivered to my home in Italy, but it was published in it. So that was what was going on. It was fantastic. I love the Dolomiten. It was a fantastic newspaper, great news. Kept me up to date on events in Italy because I didn't read Italian very well, but I read German very well, and also kept me up on events in South Tyrol. Really cool stuff. The Italians decided long ago that it was smarter to give the South Tyroleans autonomy than let them go. If you look at all the famous Italian winter athletes, almost all of the Winter Olympic athletes in Italy come from South Tyrol region. Some come from over near Milan and places north of that, or in Pisa places, but almost all of the big names come from South Tyrol. That's where all the great skiing is. That's where all the great ski families are, that sort of thing. The region is also known famously for an independence hero, someone who stood up to Napoleon when Napoleon's armies marched through Tyrol, and that was Andreas Hofer. Now, Andreas Hofer is a name that if you go to South Tyrol, you mention it, people know who you are talking about. Andreas Hofer is a name people know. You'll find hotels named after him. You'll find a gorgeous statue of him in Innsbruck, in Austria itself. He stood up against the French and tried to fight for the freedom of people in Tyrol. He was eventually betrayed and captured, and I believe he was executed, if I remember correctly. But Andreas Hofer, famous name. People know who he is. Good stuff. Not what happened to him is good stuff, but Hank says, please share your CAP credentials. Yeah, the CAP is the Rugby United New York, part of Major League Rugby franchise. So here you go. Rugby United New York. And this is a Major League Rugby team. There you go. Rooney. Called the nickname is the Roosters, informally called the Roosters. This is one of the franchises for Major League Rugby, and I'm wearing a USA rugby jersey. There you go. Yep, so that's what I'm wearing today. Thank you for asking about that. And Aziaba says, please tell us more about World War I. There's so much that's overlooked or not known. What if the Triple Alliance won? Triple. Well, the Germans were never going to win that war, especially after the Americans entered the war. We were too fresh. We had the resources, and we could have just overwhelmed them. That's eventually what happened. The German offensive in 1918 fell short in no small part because America got involved. Now, am I bragging? No. It's just the reality, folks. The English, the French, the Belgians, they were all wiped out, worn down by 4 years of war. The Germans were too, but they amassed their resources, came at it one last time, and gained success early, but then were repulsed, and the Americans made all the difference in that war. So they were never going to win once they got the Americans in the war. It just wasn't going to happen. Part of the problem, of course, is that all these countries were actually empires, and these empires were full of lots of people, many of whom were very disgruntled or unhappy that they were part of an empire. So, for instance, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Germans were a minority. German speakers, I should say. Lots of German speakers, but not necessarily Germans. Austrians, Transylvania Saxons, lots of others who were there. And Hungarians were also a minority, but together the two ruled the empire. But it was full of Slovenes, Croats, Serbs, Bosniaks, Romanians, Hungarians, Sagoina or Gypsy, Romani people, Slovak, it's all over the place. Lots of people, Czechs. And so it was an amalgam of people, and that empire was never going to survive. A lot of people aren't happy. But if you follow the campaigns of the First World War, a huge campaign fought in South Tyrol. Massive campaign. They're still finding bodies of soldiers who were killed in the First World War or froze to death during the winter in glaciers in South Tyrol. Yep, they're absolutely still finding those bodies. They found bodies in just the past few years of soldiers who froze to death, a couple Austrian soldiers who froze to death in a mountain pass back in 1916, 1917, something like that. Amazing what was happening in Eastern Europe. A lot of attention for First World War is focused on the Western Front, but what happened on the Eastern Front between the German Empire and the Russian Empire, and eventually pushing the Russians out of the war, they had a civil war after that, was quite an interesting event, the Battle of Tannenberg. Then also, even more interesting, but almost never paid attention to, is the war in Romania and Bulgaria that took place. The Austro-Hungarians marched in from Romania to go in to try to capture Bulgaria, and what was left, well, modern Romania was only part of what it is today, because the rest belonged to Austro-Hungary at the time. So they marched in there, and the battles were interesting. They were fantastic. You had forces coming in from Russia to support the Bulgarians. You had Germans coming in to reinforce the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It was quite an interesting situation. There's a really good book written by a former Army War College faculty or student who wrote a really good book about this. It was about, basically, he called it the first Blitzkrieg, as the Austro-Hungarian forces and primarily the Germans, broke through to break the back of the powers there. So quite an interesting area. A lot happening there in the First World War. When I was stationed in Italy, I took my soldiers, my officers and NCOs, up to the mountains, to the Dolomites. And we went to the Dolomites to be familiar with battlefields and talk about the First World War and small unit tactics and leadership and things like that. We visited the Commonwealth Cemetery, where British soldiers who were sent there to intervene in the conflict after the Italians changed sides and joined the war. We were sent there, and we saw the graveyards where they're buried in the mountains and visited battlefield sites. It's quite a beautiful area. It's a shame to have fought a war there and to die there, but quite an interesting part of Italy. I really enjoyed living in northern Italy. It was fascinating. It was 2 years, but I was gone for a fair portion of that on deployments to the Balkans. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed it. And I've been back a few times, but I've never had a chance to go back and live there again. So interesting stuff. Kobitz is asking if I've ever been to Auschwitz. I've never been to Auschwitz, but I have been to Dachau, and I've been to Mauthausen. Mauthausen is in Austria. That's the one where you see famous photographs of the Second World War with prisoners climbing up out of a quarry with these 90-pound blocks of granite or whatever the stone is on their back. They're carrying it up there. Very famous photograph. That's Mauthausen, and that's in Austria. I've been there. I've been to Dachau. I've been to, what's the one up north? Sachsenhausen, the one that was in the British zone after the war. I've been to that one. I've been to several of these concentration camps. Really sad stuff. The Dachau camp was started right after the Nazis took over. In 1934, it was already open. And it was full of socialists and communists and homosexuals and mixed-race Germans. A little-known story that people don't talk about, but after the First World War, when the Rhineland was occupied by France, all the way up until 1936, it was occupied. The French didn't send French troops for the most part. They sent African troops there. So West African troops coming from the French-speaking Francophone countries in West Africa, which were part of the colonial empire, were sent to the German Rhineland, where they served as occupation troops. Well, what happens when soldiers show up? So let me get this light on here a little bit better, see if it's a little bit better. Here we go. What happens when soldiers show up in places? Well, given time, they tend to mix with locals. And what happens? So a lot of African troops mixed with German girls, German women, and there were a number of offspring as a consequence of these liaisons. So by the 1930s, there were probably about 30 to 50,000 mixed-race Germans who were a direct result of French occupation troops having been in Germany for 2 decades. Well, among the first people sent to the concentration camps, along with the communists, the socialists, and the homosexuals, were mixed-race Germans. So they were imprisoned in concentration camps simply for the fact that one of the parents was black, and of course most of them died. Very few survived the war. Now, they weren't the only Germans who were mixed race. There were some Germans who were mixed race because some Africans had come from Africa to Germany in the preceding 30 or 40 years during the German colonial empire, and there was some mixing of Germans with Africans, and some of them came back. So you had a small number of those folks, but that's a very small number. The majority of them were from the French troops, the French colonial troops in Germany. Anyway, all these people went to those concentration camps. Really, really sad stuff. Dachau was the first one I ever visited, and actually went to see that concentration camp after having visited Munich. Munich was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Then I went to Dachau. It was kind of depressing, but it was also interesting to see. And bear in mind, I saw this in 1984, so the war was not even 30 years old. It ended not even 30 years prior, so it was still relatively recent. Pierre Joubert has just subscribed. Well, thank you, Pierre, for subscribing. Really appreciate that. We love to see the zombie climbing the Mahalisberg. But I tell you what, when you become a member of Chris White Africa, the zombie climbs across the top of the ridgeline. That's even cooler. For those who don't know, that's Olifant's Neck, which is in the Mahalisberg Mountains or hills, just to the southwest of Rustenburg. This is at the point where the exit is for the Royal Bafokeng Stadium if you take and go on the opposite side of the road. Anyway, so there you go. Let me check out what we've got here in the comments very quickly. Cobus says, looks like you love rugby. Cobus, I think you're new to the channel because I didn't recognize your name, so I'll get you up to speed. Yes, I do love rugby. My thing on the channel is every video and stream I do, I'm wearing a rugby shirt, usually a rugby jersey. People say, well, how many do you have? I probably have 75 or 100 different rugby jerseys around the world, but of course, my top number of rugby jerseys are Springboks jerseys, and then followed by USA Eagles. But the Springboks come first. That's my first love. Yes, I'm a huge rugby fan. I used to have this room set up differently. It wasn't really a studio, and I had a map of Africa behind me, and on that map I would always hang a scarf over it. But I don't really have any place to hang the scarves right now, so there are no scarves coming onto the stream. But yeah, that's what I was doing. Jacques says, is the Winter Olympics considered actual sport in the States? Guess if you guys think bowling is, that's no surprise. Do you play football, Matt? Ha ha ha. Jacques is trying to be funny. Yeah, I've heard people come on the channel and say that they play darts, like that's a sport. Yes, Winter Olympics is a sport, absolutely. Of course. Mark Rand says, where is Jackson? Back in New York City, hiding under his bed. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Hendo's asking people to hit the like button. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Thank you, folks, if you do that. World War I geezers, notorious G. Dr. Napoleon was exiled at St. Helena's. Yeah, where the board. Yep, exactly. I forget where he died. I think he did die there. Yeah, I mentioned the Boer prisoners of war from the Second Boer War being imprisoned on St. Helena Island. I mentioned that in a previous stream. Blakeman went to Germany over the millennium, skied twice, saw the Torture Museum, enjoyed the Christkindl Mark. Now, where did you go to the Christkindl Mark at, Blakeman? That's an important distinction. The one that's held in the highest regard and people think is the best is Nuremberg. I've been to the Nuremberg Christkindl Mark. It's okay. I've also been to the Stuttgart Christkindl Mark. It rocks. The Stuttgart Christkindl Mark is so much better than Nuremberg, in my personal opinion. The one in Stuttgart is the best Christkindl Mark in Germany. That's my view. I'm in the minority on that, but you can check them both out, and then you tell me. Ozzy says, what's your opinion of President Woodrow Wilson? Apparently he was a terrible president. People only know him for the world. Yeah, Ozzy, but my view on Woodrow Wilson is he's a racist, scumbag, piece of crap progressive who is hailed as some sort of hero of the progressive left. But this is the guy who, before Woodrow Wilson, the federal civil service was not segregated. People were integrated. Black people, white people worked in the same offices, held the same jobs. Woodrow Wilson segregated the federal civil service. Democratic president, by the way, member of the Democratic Party, someone they look up to. He separated people based on race. He also played the first ever motion picture movie in the White House when they aired The Fate of a Nation, which is a KKK-inspired racist movie talking about, it's full of bigotry and hatred. Yeah, that's right. He did that. So that is Woodrow Wilson. He had his points, his ideas for the world. Almost everything he was into was about taking away freedom and liberty so that elites can run things and decide for us. Does that sound familiar? I'm not a fan of Woodrow Wilson. In school, I was taught that he was a brilliant president, that if only the world had listened to Wilson's points, we would have had peace. And because they didn't listen to him, the League of Nations was a failure because it didn't really follow his principles. And those are all lies. It was propaganda shared in school, in public school, by teachers who should have known better. Anyway, so yeah, not a fan of Woodrow Wilson. I will say that. Let's see. I've answered that one already. If Italy remained neutral, would Mussolini still have come to power? I think it's very likely, Ozzy, that Mussolini still would have come to power because they came out on the winning side. That's not why the fascists came to power. They came to power for other reasons. So I'm pretty confident they still would have come to power, unfortunately. Which country has the prettiest girls? Wow, okay. Well, you don't win that argument no matter what you say. All right. Blakeman says Brazil. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. He has to say Africa. 2 minutes to load shedding. Dopey Smurf. Sorry. See you later. Shame. That explains where people went. I lost several people there, and it's load shedding. Gosh. South Africa. Jeez. Lone Wolf wants to know if I like American football. do you like? I used to. I love American football. It's an amazing sport. It's a great sport, and people abroad don't understand it, so they diss on it all the time. It's a really good sport, and it's such a big cultural thing too. It's a huge part of American culture, all over the country, but here in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Texas, in Oklahoma, in high school, in university, and professional. It's so huge. But I'm hot full of the National Football League and their bigotry, racism, and their pandering. So I've lost interest in football. We actually had an alternative football league this year. We had the XFL come back, which had been around 20 years ago, and it was folded. Then it brought it back this year. It was doing incredibly well until lockdown, and now the league has declared bankruptcy. It's a spring football league and slightly different rules in the NFL. It was fun. I actually went to a game in D.C. I had free tickets. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed it, but it's gone now. What were your duties when deployed? Lots of things, Tunes. When I was enlisted, I was in the Signal Corps, and so I would go on remote hilltops and put in a radio relay station using one radio and an antenna, and then another radio, another antenna. The signals come in, multiplex, combine the signals, send them out, so that generals in the field could pick up a field phone and talk anywhere in the world. So we delivered that capability. That's how you had to do it back then. And so I did that. Then when I became a commissioned officer, I was an intelligence officer, and so I did lots of different intelligence jobs. I was a battalion assistant, S2 intelligence officer, primary, then a brigade assistant and primary. And then I taught at university at Iowa State. Then I was a counterintelligence commander in Italy. And then went to language school for French. And then I've done all kinds of other things. Run HIV programs, tuberculosis programs, malaria programs, Ebola research when I was in Uganda, done peacekeeping, counterintelligence, counterterrorism, development, built schools, clinics, roads, highways, run programs for human rights recognition, avoiding human rights abuses, law of land warfare, naval programs, ship visits, training exercises, conferences on all sorts of things, you name it, I've probably been involved in it. So I've done a lot of things. Pretty cool. Got to write intelligence products for the President of the United States when I worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency. That was really, really super cool. At the time, before 9/11, only the Central Intelligence Agency gave intelligence to the President of the United States. Ever since they created this thing called the President's Daily Brief. President's Daily Brief, the PDB, was created back in the 1960s when Lyndon Johnson was the president. And from that time until 9/11, September 11th, 2001, the only people who ever gave intelligence to the president, by and large, was the CIA through a daily product. They would come up with a topic, they would write it, and use this one-page, two-page report of analysis, and they would send it up. It would be reviewed, and the president would be briefed every day, along with all the senior officers in the cabinet and the military and the State Department. And so that was a daily thing. But one of the weaknesses of our intelligence system was we had 19 or 21 intelligence agencies, but only one was reporting to the president. So one of the recommendations from the 9/11 Commission, or as I call it, the Whitewash Commission, because the fix was in. They weren't honest about what really happened in 9/11, and they glossed over a lot of the problems. But one of the recommendations was that the other intelligence agencies should be contributing to the intelligence that the president gets. As a consequence, I was working at the Defense Intelligence Agency, and they were desperate to get analysts to write things for the president so they could be part of the process. So I recommended a report. It was reviewed. They liked the topic. I started writing it. For 3 months, the CIA tried to keep my article from being run. Eventually, I won the argument, and we ran the article, and President Bush and Vice President Cheney really liked the article, had lots of questions for me, and as a consequence, 600,000 people in Southern Africa didn't starve to death because of that report that I wrote. And there was no task to do it. No one had to do that report. I simply chose to do it because I thought it was important, and I did it. And then later I wrote several more, which was kind of cool. I really enjoyed it. So I got to write for the President of the United States. I worked in a $3 billion acquisition program with the National Security Agency. I was the chief of staff for that program. Really cool stuff. So lots of duties. When I was in Uganda, some really exciting times there. When I was the security cooperation chief at our embassy in Kampala, we had a named operation hunting down Joseph Kony, named Operation Observant Compass. I wasn't part of the operation, but my facilities, we supported that operation and logistically. So we were involved in that in December of 2013 when the Central African Republic imploded. And so the African Union wanted peacekeepers and moved the peacekeepers from their home countries of Rwanda and Burundi to the Central African Republic. Well, if you've ever been to the Central African Republic, you will know that it's kind of remote. So the U.S. Air Force, using its aircraft, brought the troops from Burundi and Rwanda in different stages. But in December, it was troops from Rwanda. They came to Entebbe, our air base, the civilian air base, but we had a facility there. And while we were helping with the Coney operation from the Lord's Resistance Army, we suddenly had this operation going on. And then on top of that, as if that was enough, on December 21st of 2013, I think it was the 21st, South Sudan imploded around that time. And the forces Riek and Salva Kiir got into a conflict. Well, Anthony's donated a super chat of 14 Rand. Well, thank you so much for the situational awareness test. Well, you're most welcome. Thank you for the super chat. And there's the zombie climbing the Mahalisberg. We love that. He's running right up to the top. But yeah, so while this was happening, they got into civil war. There were Western expats trapped in South Sudan. And so that was the president, vice president, their forces fighting a war. This is a country that had just been independent a short period of time. Now they're fighting themselves in warfare. So the Africa Command, U.S. Africa Command, negotiated to fly into Bor, B-O-R, a town in South Sudan, to land and pick up Americans and evacuate them. Well, when the Osprey aircraft, that's the aircraft that has the tilt wings where it flies like a plane and it turns up and it flies like a helicopter. So the blades go around. So the Osprey was famous for crashing a lot when it was in development, but it's a very reliable aircraft. The Osprey went to Bor. There were 3 of them, plus a C-130 command bird, a large aircraft with them as well, and another aircraft, one to refuel. They flew up there from Djibouti. They flew to South Sudan. On approach to the airfield, as they turned in to bank and come in and land, they were fired upon by both sides. They used small arms and anti-aircraft cannon to fire at them. Each of the 3 aircraft were struck and hit, and they couldn't land. So they aborted the landing. They turned back. They quickly discovered they had 4 wounded in lead aircraft. Well, three wounded. They didn't know the 4th was wounded. He was the parajumper, the medic, who was actually wounded, but because it was adrenaline, we never knew he was wounded until hours later when he got to Nairobi. But 3 soldiers were wounded, 1 critically, and it was touch or go whether he was going to live or not. They used all the blood plasma they had in the plane as this one paramedic, parajumper, tried to save these guys' lives. And as they're flying back, I was headed down there for the evacuation, and I was in a support role to help the embassy out. And then what happened was, as we got tired of waiting because the State Department people were taking too long, in my view, because we need to get the airfield. It's a 45-minute drive from the capital to the airport in Entebbe. So I told my driver, I said, let's go. And he and I and a captain who worked for me were headed down. And then my phone rang. So I picked up my phone. It was the operations center in Germany from U.S. Africa Command. And they told me that what happened was that the flight's inbound. I said, yeah, I know about this. I know, I'm headed out. No, Colonel White, you don't understand. And I was a lieutenant colonel then. I was about to become a full colonel less than 2 weeks later. So you don't understand. The aircraft were fired upon. We have 3 wounded, 2 critical on the lead aircraft. They can't make it back to Nairobi. They're coming to Entebbe, which is where they were going to come anyway. He was just updating me. And I said, okay, fine. So this went from being an evacuation in which the planes land orderly. We have Americans come off the back of the plane. Somebody checks their identification. They register them. They give them emergency cash. They get them hotel accommodations. They give them a way to communicate with people. And then they find out what they want to do. Go back to America or stay here while they wait to go back to South Sudan. So it went from being that to no evacuees and wounded service members on the aircraft. So the aircraft are coming back, and now we've got a problem. Now we've got a serious medical problem. So on my way down to the airport, I start calling people left and right. I got 2 mobiles. I'm talking to one phone. I'm talking to the other phone. Got one person this ear from Djibouti, one person this ear from Stuttgart. I'm talking to both at the same time. Of course, I'm not driving. My driver's driving. And as we head down there, I pick up the phone after I get off the phone with them, and I call the chief of the Special Operations Forces because we're going to need to land on the military side with those aircraft because we can't keep them on the commercial side. Anyway, so I coordinate that, and the son of the president, Museveni, he's the Special Forces commander. He says, it's okay, don't worry about it. You can do that. So I get approval. I roll up to the airport, and as I get to the airport, what do I see but a C-130 with a South African tail flash on it? What is this? So I go over and I see a bunch of South African soldiers, and I said, hi. And they see my rank, and they salute. They see I'm a colonel. I return the salute, and I said, what are you guys doing here? And they said, well, we came up to evacuate our nationals from Juba. And I said, okay, then why are you sitting here? Because it turns out there weren't that many people coming out, so the minister, or the Durko, went to Juba with the jet, the smaller jet, the commercial jet, and they're picking up those few people and bringing them back, and then we're all going to go back. But the South Africans had like 49 personnel there, and I said, do you have any medical personnel? They said, yeah, I'm a flight surgeon, I'm a GP, I'm a nurse. So they had about 5 or 6 medical personnel. I said, listen, since your people are not here and you're not needed, I have 3 aircraft inbound that have been hit and I've got at least 3 wounded, 2 critical. I don't know how many medical personnel I'm going to be able to bring together. There's no level 1 trauma hospital here in this entire country. We're going to land. We're going to have them put on this C-17 that's sitting over here, and we're going to move it. And you're going to hear the turbines waiting for them to land, triage them, stabilize them, get them on the back of that aircraft, and fly them to Nairobi where the level 1 trauma hospital is. And South Africans like, sir, we're happy to help you. We're at your disposal. In the meantime, they went and got the flight surgeon from the task force from Joseph Kony, along with the medics, because I had Marines who were supposed to be leaving that next day. They were there for the weekend. They had been training the Ugandans for peacekeeping in Somalia, and they were rotating out from Uganda to go back to Djibouti before they flew back to Spain, which is where they're based at. Anyway, so all things being equal, they wouldn't have been there that day, but they were. And they were all over town. They were at the zoo, visiting things, checking out, doing a little tourism before they returned. So I got a hold of their officer and said, hey, you need to get me your medical personnel, because I knew that they had a physician's assistant and a handful of medics because they were training Ugandans. So suddenly we had a physician's assistant, a flight surgeon, and then we had the medical personnel from South Africa, who I never had to use. And then we had 6 medics. And so we had a medical team. What happened with anything like this, when things start to happen, everybody wants to get involved, everybody wants to help. So when the aircraft approached the airfield, they flew, the C-130 flew overhead first. Venna van Masbergen just subscribed. Well, thank you, Venna, for subscribing. The excuse me, the C-130s came ahead of the Osprey, excuse me, which were damaged, so they couldn't fly at full speed. The C-130 flew past, didn't overpass, and that's when I knew we only had a few minutes left. And then I got a call telling me they're about to land, and I told them, yes, I can see that, we're here. So I gathered all the personnel up, and at this point we probably had, between the Marines, my embassy personnel, which is about half a dozen, and plus people from Observer Compass, we probably had about 40 or 50 U.S. military personnel at the airfield. I gathered everybody around. I said, listen to me. If you're involved, if you have a task and you're helping, you're helping. If you're not, you step back and wait till someone calls you that needs you. We don't have time for chaos. We don't have time for lots of people to try to get their fingers in too many cooks. Who is the senior medical person here? And I didn't know who they all were at the time. And the flight surgeon says to me, he was, I think he was a captain or major, he says, I'm the flight surgeon from over here. I said, well, from medically, are you the senior person? And yeah, he was the senior person. I said, you're in charge of medical decisions when these guys hit the ground. The rest of you answer to him. All right? And we sorted that out. And I told everyone else, I said, when you're needed, be ready to be called, because we don't know what people are going to need. We might need somebody to carry stretchers. We might need somebody to drive vehicles, go get water, whatever the situation is. So we gathered the team up. I briefed them. Then the C-130 circled while the Osprey came in and landed. The Osprey came in. I could tell that the aircraft were barely flyable. They were limping along. And, of course, the ground support crew is leading them in on a flight line to come in to land them and park them away from the terminal. The terminal is where the president's aircraft sits. It wasn't there because it was in Juba. So the spots in front of it. Now, this is the building where the raid on Entebbe took place, ladies and gentlemen. This very same building where Bibi Netanyahu's brother was shot on the back of the plane as they tried to escape after freeing the hostages. That's the exact spot where this occurred. True story. December 2013. So what happens is they come in, and the pilot in the lead aircraft, who's got the most damage, sees the open spot, and he stops following the little Baki, or not Baki, the combi that's driving on the runway, and he turns and goes over to the open spot, and like, oh, this is going to be fun. So they come in, and to their credit, the pilots came in straight line, turned one after the other, like little ducks, and they all parked right there. The tail ramps came down, and then I had requested ambulances from the government of Uganda, but they never showed up. So I prepared for the government of Uganda to let me down because it was short notice. Not their fault. So expecting that we would not have the ambulances, I went ahead and got combis that we had available. And we dragged like 3 combis over, and they were going to be our ambulances. And I had people to drive it, waiting in the vehicle. So they were sitting there. The tail ramp comes down. I stand behind that vehicle, got my sunglasses on, wearing my fatigues, and I took my cap off because it's a flight line. And I got covered in aviation fuel because the Osprey has 10 fuel tanks, and they're all separate compartments. And the reason for that is if it gets hit during combat, that the plane can still fly and doesn't lose all its fuel because it has 9 more. Well, the lead aircraft, as we found out later on, of the 10 fuel tanks in there, 8 were riddled with bullets. That aircraft was refueled 3 times in flight from Bor to Entebbe by the other aircraft. And if it hadn't been able to do mid-air refueling, it would have had to land in the bush somewhere, and those guys probably would have died. Anyway, that was the lead aircraft where the wounded were, but all 3 aircraft had bullet holes in it. Just the lead aircraft had got had people wounded. So what happens is our guys rush up to the back. The parajumper, the medic that's on the aircraft, brings them out, and the blood is just everywhere. It's all over the ramp. It's all over the inside of the aircraft. It was gory. It was pretty bad. And then they put them in the combis, drove them over to the back of the C-17, which by this time we had sitting on another runway with the turbines spinning, waiting to take off. They drive them over there. They unload the 3 wounded. We get over there, and then I got strap hangers coming along, trying to help, including one of my guys. I'm like, back off. This is their stuff. Then the Special Forces commander comes over to me, and he asks what's going on. I said, this is what's doing. We're going to get you guys on the aircraft. They're going to fly in a C-17 to Nairobi. They already have the trauma folks waiting. I've already talked to the attaché in Nairobi. He's talked to the Kenyan military forces. Kenyan military police have cleared the route from the airport to the hospital. That's a huge deal, folks. They cleared the route for this flight. And so you're going to have an escort. They're going to get there. I said, if you have personnel that need to go to Nairobi, you need to identify them so we can get them on this C-17 because there's no other aircraft that we have available. This is the one taking them, and we'll get them there. And he said, well, we're going to go back. I said, I saw those aircraft. I don't know what you're going to go back to Bor on. You have nothing. Those aircraft are not airworthy. They're not going to get back in the air. He goes, well, let me talk about it. So I went and talked to his people, and then he came back a little bit later, and he was on the tail ramp. I was on the ramp. They triaged the 3 guys on the ground. One of the guys crashed. The one who wasn't critical crashed, and they saved his life right there on the ground. And they brought him back, kept him alive. Then we got them all on the back of the C-17, which was pretty fully loaded because that plane was supposed to be leaving in a day or two as well because its mission was over for transporting the Rwandans. It was just there last second. So we used that aircraft, got them in the back, and then the officer in charge of the Special Operations Team came over to me, and I said, okay, the plane's taking off in a couple minutes. You got any people? He goes, and the parajumper said, I think I should go with him. And I said, the Special Operations guy thought about it for a second. I said, no, you need to send him with him for continuity of care. This is the guy that's been treating him in the aircraft. He knows the situation better than anyone else for the last 2 hours. He's kept these guys alive. I think you should send him. And he goes, yeah, that's right. So he got on the plane. They flew down to Nairobi. That flight, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know the commercial air time, but I think it's like an hour. 38 or 42 minutes after that aircraft took off, it was on the ground in Nairobi. Now, C-17 with turbines, jets, took off. That was a pretty fast flight, and a huge aircraft to ferry guys from medevac. They landed in Nairobi. John Roddy was the attaché at the time there. They got them to the airport, to the hospital. When they got to the hospital, the parajumper was there, and of course he's covered in blood. He's been dealing with this now for like 3 hours or something like that, maybe 4 hours. And he's like, oh, my back's bothering me. And so they took his body armor off, and he was wounded. A piece of shrapnel or a round had gotten up under his flak vest in the back and wounded him. He never knew he was wounded. He treated these others this whole time. Now, I read after-action reports from special operations guys, some of whom didn't know what the hell they were talking about and had things to say about the time in Entebbe. But I was there. I saw it. I have the view from both sides. No, I didn't get a medal out of this. I don't want a medal out of this. Didn't deserve a medal out of this. But I know the facts, and I know what happened. And I also know all the players involved. I wasn't a transitory person coming through the airport or someone that anyway. So bottom line is that he saved the lives of those 3 guys. He should have gotten a medal. I don't know if he ever did. He should have been recognized for it. Unfortunately, one of the guys, a lot of things came out of this, by the way. So the U.S. military has changed the way that it does triage with tourniquets, because he had to apply a tourniquet on this guy because he was shot in the groin. And he didn't hit the artery, but he got hit in the groin. He was bleeding a lot. So he applied a tourniquet, and because he was the only one treating him and all the stuff going on, trying to keep 3 guys alive, flying in a plane full of holes. Anyway, the tourniquet was on too long. It hadn't been released properly enough times, and the guy lost a leg. And it wound up being amputated above the knee and then all the way up to the hip socket, and he was discharged, and he's walking around without a leg these days as a consequence of that gruesome thing. Just trying to go evacuate people after these folks told the U.S. African Command that they could come in. They were identified. No one's going to shoot you, and then they shot him anyway. So that's what happened there. So another thing happened about a month later. We had Walter Reed folks come who provided the funding for our Ebola research program and our HIV research program in Uganda. So the colonel from there, and I was a full colonel by the time I've been promoted on January 1st. The colonel from Walter Reed came over. We talked about the program. We went out to lunch, and he's saying, yeah, he told me about how they've already changing the procedures for dealing with tourniquets in combat situations. Now, they've been doing tourniquets for 200 years, in military situations, but because of Entebbe, they actually changed it, and I was there. I had nothing to do with it. I'm just saying this was part of history. And so he told me, he said, yeah, there was another thing that happened. I said, what's that? He said, well, the limb from the guy who lost his leg. I said, yeah, what about it? He said, well, of course they tested it, and they found, and he mentioned it, one of these flesh-eating bacteria that's out there that's scaring the bejesus out of the medical community. And his leg had the bacteria on it. And I said, well, unless it's airborne and flies at a few thousand feet, he didn't get it in South Sudan. I don't think he got it in Djibouti because no one else has got it. And he didn't get it here because they were on the ground like 16 minutes. It was the max, 14, 16 minutes from the time they landed to the time we got that plane in the air. I said, he probably got it in Nairobi. Anyway, so his leg became part of an important tropical disease study that Walter Reed was doing. So quite an eventful day there in late December of 2013. Yeah, so you were asking about my deployments, what I do on it. There is an example of some of the things I do. Let me catch up on the chat because you guys have, it was a long story. See what I missed here. Okay. Which country? Oh, yeah, Tian says I was going to say Namibia. Okay, that's where we're at. So Kobus, oh, come on, come back here. Kobus says, I love watching World War II documentaries and love hearing about history. It's fascinating, although I think many truths are not told in documentaries. What are your thoughts? Yeah, documentaries tend not to tell the truly horrific parts of it. Some do. It's really, really, really bad, guys. Really bad. Yanni says, wow, wow, wow. What are you wow on about, man? How are you doing? Are you looking tired? Well, sorry, Lynn. Am I tired? I'm not feeling tired. Maybe I need some sleep. But I'm feeling great. Doing well. Tian's, okay. And then thank you for the super chat again, Anthony. I really appreciate it. Kung Fu Kenny, what would you say one of your most reliable handguns and rifles are? I don't have any right now. I had lots of them, and they were all pretty reliable. So, I mean, nothing comes to mind right now. I haven't had any rifles or shotguns or handguns for probably about 20 years now. I had 30 rifles and shotguns that were left back in Ohio when I joined the military. Left with my stepfather and my mother. But over the years, my stepfather would say, hey, listen, somebody's interested in buying this rifle. Would you okay if we sell it? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, because I can't take it with me, and I'll just get another one day. And I don't have any right now. Although I'm looking at buying a handgun, a Sig Sauer. I'm thinking seriously about doing it. Really awesome looking little thing. Just go hit the range. Now that I'm not active duty anymore, I don't get to the range very often, so I thought I'd do that. Besides, I can. It's my Second Right Amendment, and I want to exercise it before the tyrants come for it. The Bruce says, we'll confirm most beautiful women are from South Africa. Okay, cool. 2 degrees. Well, that's my kind of weather. Sandef went down the drain. It really is a travesty. Yeah, for the most part. There are some functional parts of it, but it's underfunded, and using it as a job scheme is not a healthy idea, which is what it's been used for. 20 degrees in Mauritius. Morton is still in Mauritius. We're going to keep hearing about that until he gets out of there. Hendo says it's the whole country, not just this South African National Defense Force. Subscribers slowly rising. No, they're actually growing quite a bit. Last 2 days, folks, we've added over 200 subscribers. Thank you all for that who've joined. In fact, today it's been a good day on adding subscribers to the channel. Let me see. So we've added, today we've had like 50, 60, 70 subscribers. Very good day. Thank you all so much for joining. We're almost at 4,500, trying to get to 5,000 here sometime soon. So thank you that. So I wouldn't say it's slow. It was slow there for a bit, but it has picked up again, I think because of some of the videos I've done recently. Well, I know it's because of some of the videos I've done, but also people have been sharing the word about the channel. So thank you so much. Clay pigeon shooting will keep you in. Yeah, no, I've never done skeet shooting, although it's something that's always interested me. Yanni says, what a proud story. Oh, yeah, thanks, Yanni. That's actually, I condensed it. When we sit down and have now I won't be drinking, sorry, brew, Castle Lager in the garage, but, or Kassel Lager in the garage. Now, I'll have a Windhoek Lager, but when we sit down and have a Windhoek Lager, Yanni, when I get over that side, or you get this side, I can tell you the whole story. That was the PG version. That was the everybody looks pretty good. I didn't tell any dirt on anybody who misbehaved version. There's actually a bit of all that in the story too. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually did get something for it. The State Department gave me a award for it for my contributions, but they I think cheapened the award because there's 3 people on the award, and one of the people didn't do anything. They weren't even present, and they were on the award. So I was a little irritated by that, but I did appreciate the words. Very kind of them. It's the only thing I ever got from the State Department. I rebuilt the entire army in Liberia for their program, which was falling apart, and they don't even know that I exist. But at least the ambassador and the deputy chief of mission recognized that in Uganda, so I'm ever grateful to them forever that they took the time to recognize it. I was actually out of the country when I was given the award, which kind of sucked, but so I wasn't present, but it was kind of cool. Was sitting in my office when I got back. So I'm like, what's this? Like, oh, you didn't hear, Colonel? You got an award. I'm like, for what? What'd I do? Tunes says, the big reason I joined your channel, what better than View from the Inside? Well, thank you, Tunes. Kobus says, I love watching. Oh, I already got that. Sorry, I'm back in time here. I zip back and forth. Glock needs to catch up. SIG P365 is first handgun purchase. Okay, cool. Hit the like button. Sean says, I've been put on furlough, so I'm about to make a fire outside and watch your stream on my mobile. Okay, cool. Jacques' father fought in Angola. He never talks about it. Seems to be common among many soldiers. Yeah, listen, the guys who fought for the South African Defense Force in Angola, they were crapped on. They were absolutely crapped on. Now, the generals, the senior officers, they got accolades and recognition. Oh, yeah, there's one more thing in the back there I didn't point out. My plant back there, it's actually blooming. See that purple bloom up there? That kind of surprised me yesterday. But the guys for the South African Defense Force that fought in Angola were really crapped on, particularly those from Operation Savannah back in '75, because it didn't end well. And a lot of people thought they were going to capture Luanda, but they kind of gave up on that at some point after the Battle of Ibo. And so, yeah, they were really, really, really crapped on. It really was unfortunate, and people died. Soldiers lost their lives, and I really, really am grateful to Bok van Blerk for his video Decoupling, which is a brilliant video. Fantastic footage, personal footage, and government footage of the conflict in Angola. Really, really wonderful, heartwarming song. It brings tears to my eyes. I didn't fight in Angola, but I have fought in combat, and with brothers in arms, you get that sense of feeling. So, yeah, if you don't know that song, check it out. The Kaplan from Bok van Blerk, one of his best songs ever, hands down. Brilliant song. Yeah, I love that song. Why was the Osprey used and not C-130s? Because the Osprey can land vertically, because they land like helicopters. So if the airfield had been damaged, the C-130 might not have been able to land, but the Osprey could come in, hover, land, drop the tail, load up, and take off without a runway. Plus, the Marines have paid hundreds of millions of dollars for this toy. They haven't used it very often, so of course they're going to use it. It's just part of the equipment that they have. The C-130 is a command and control bird in this situation, and a refuel bird. That's what they're used for. There were two of them. SANDF guys were just forgotten. The SADF guys were forgotten, yeah. Listen to that 2 days ago. Listen to what, Hendo? What did you listen to 2 days ago? Oh, you Bok van Blerk? Yeah. My brother is back on a farm in Valentine, Nebraska. I feel he's quite safe there from COVID. Well, Lone, you're not really safe anywhere from COVID. If it's airborne, gosh, now we really have a headache. But yeah, I think if people maintain their social distance and are smart about what they're doing and practice good hygiene, then they're going to be okay. Unless they've got an underlying immunocompromised condition, then they're more at risk. But I think they'll be okay. I mean, I've interacted with people, but I keep my distance. I wash my hands frequently, and I don't do foolish things. And so far, I've been okay. Along with 328 million other Americans, or thereabouts, or 327 million. So yeah, yeah, I think he'll be okay. So just smart about it. Yeah, for unusable runways, that's one reason. Yeah, it's very flexible. The brew wasn't even born then. That's okay, bro. No worries. We all get born somewhere. Kaplan is an amazing song, Koba says. It is. Oh, Hendo put the link in. I'm taking that's the Kaplan. That is an amazing song. If that doesn't bring tears to your eyes, then you're heartless. Oh, maybe you're not. Notorious, she says, can we all ask here who is going on the 18th? Yeah, anybody going to go on the march on the 18th? If you want to disclose that, feel free. If you're going on the march on the 18th to the Union buildings, say yes or put a thumbs up. And if you don't want to tell people, that's fine. That's cool. People want to... Oh, the brew's going. Okay, cool. Not surprised. Yeah, I think that's going to be something huge. We're just 3 days away from that, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll try to cover it as best I can. What march, Robin says? Well, yeah, please share very quickly what the march is all about there at Notorious G. It's about this people being hotful and what's going on. But tell us a little bit. Yeah, it is a bit far because it's the Union buildings. It's unless you're up there in Gauteng, it's kind of far away for folks. Yep. It's understandable, Robin. You're not paying attention. People are just, enough of all this nonsense. They've had it. So, yeah. So let me just go very quickly so you guys are up to speed on what's coming up on the channel. I want to make sure people know, since we still got a decent audience here. Excuse me. Even though it's getting late in South Africa. So I've got some live streams tomorrow on Chris White Africa right here, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the always entertaining and certainly always confused Joe Emilio, the Texan / Egyptian / South African / American comedian will be appearing on Chris White Africa. We're going to talk tomorrow. We'll keep that to an hour because he's got some videos preparing after that. But Joe will be on the channel tomorrow at noon Eastern, 6 p.m. in South Africa and in Botswana. And he and I will be talking about cancel culture and where his legal case is at the moment and what his plans are for the future based on that legal case against Nikki Arison, the woman who savagely attacked him with no justification whatsoever on social media. And so we'll see tomorrow. Joe will be on the channel. Also on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, I have set up a members stream on Friday. That's right. So if you're a member of Chris White Africa, and there are 71 of you out there right now, if you're a member, you'll be able to tune in, and I'll make it a Zoom session. So if you want to call in, we can chat, and you can tell me your thoughts. And I'm just double checking the time. It should be, I think I set this for 1 p.m. So 7 p.m. in South Africa and Botswana. It's 1 p.m. I was just double checking it. The inaugural Members Perks live stream for channel members. I'll open a Zoom session. You can grab your coffee mug, get comfy in your chair, get ready to enjoy a session just for you. You can call in if you want to share something, or you just want to rant. So, Brew, if you want to rant, that's the time to call in, my friend. That'll be Friday at 7 p.m. in South Africa. So that's what's coming up. Look forward to it. That is a Member Perks live stream. So, like I said, we got 71 members of the channel right now. It's not for subscribers, folks. People pay to be a member of the site to support the channel, so there's got to be something additional for them. This will be the first one, and it'll be on the anniversary of 1 month of monetization and membership for the channel. So 1 month to the day we started membership. Now, addition, I promised for the Master and Commander level members that I would do an additional video of your choice. And I've not heard from anybody yet, so either you're busy or you hadn't thought about it, but if you want a video, something I research and make a video just for you guys, I'll do it. And then about a week later, I'll release it to the public anyway. So unless you guys say I can release it sooner. Anyway, so the Member Perks live stream Friday at 1 p.m. That's right. So coming up. Now, I'm also supposed to have Friday Marabani on the channel, but I've not heard from Marabani. He's supposed to send me a photograph, waiting to hear back from him. He's probably busy doing research. But Marabani had agreed to come on the channel Friday. If Marabani does come on the channel, it'll be at 6 p.m. South Africa or noon here on the East Coast. Marabani will be my guest. We'll break off, and then we'll do the stream with members, the Members Perk stream. Anyway, so that's what's coming up, folks. Hope you don't mind. Hope you find that interesting. Tiana wants war stories, huh? Okay, I'm going to get back to... oh, thank you, Yanni. Put the Joe Emilio up there. Let me catch up. Possibly the future will be Cape Colonial. Joe stream. Yeah, Joe should be interesting. That'd be cool. Kobus, if this is personal, you don't have to answer. What's your thoughts on Donald Trump as the president for the U.S., and do you think he'll win the next election? Kobus, I've actually answered that question many times, but understanding that you're new to the channel or recent, I'll answer it. Just a second here. Now, I don't know, Yanni, if you sharing that means other people can get into the stream. I don't know. I said it for members only, but I think that only members will be able to get in. So if anybody tries to get in on Friday for the Members Perks live stream and you can't, it's because the site doesn't let you in because you're not a member. Anyway, no, they can't. Thank you, Yanni. That's what I thought. No, I'm not off Starbucks Yachts. I just took a break. Lots of streams. I've been really busy this week, so I probably didn't have it one time. Yeah, Brew, no drunk dialing. Please, no drunk dialing. Well, it's a Members Perk, so it won't be so bad if he does dial in drunk. But anyway, so Lynn has already said a reminder. Well, thank you, Lynn, for that. I really appreciate it. So think ahead, guys. If there's something you want to get off your chest or something you want to share for that stream or you want to tell a war story of your own, that's great. Anyway, I take it people really enjoyed that war story, huh? I haven't seen the latest Marabani video. If I have time, I'll check it out, but I'm busy reviewing papers and writing a letter in German to try to get a Swiss yodeling group to come to South Africa. So I'm working on that. New Namibian coffee brew. You working on mine? We're working on that, but it'll be South African coffee. So yes, cool beans. Right, people did like it. Okay, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Risking sounding very repetitive. Please do a stream with one of our members, Nigel. Nigel Soden? Is that what you want? Anyway, back to, I didn't answer the question fully, so let me get back to what the question was. He asked about Donald Trump. So, sorry, Kobus. Yeah, if I get off topic, just, poke me and say, hey, but I remembered in this case. So, Kobus, my view on, what's that? Ooh, L. Samuel just subscribed. Well, thank you so much. If you're in the stream, L, if you're not in the stream and you're just watching one of my videos and subscribe, well, thank you for that as well. But we love to see the zombie climbing the Mahallansburg. So, Cobus, my thoughts on Donald Trump as president. I think that Donald Trump is the singular best president this country has had since George Herbert Walker Bush. Not that he was the greatest president. He was certainly the best qualified person to be president in the 20th century. But since George Herbert Walker Bush, he's the best president. The rest of them have just been very disappointing, to say the least, and some more than others, like Barack Obama. But I think Donald Trump has been a very good president, especially in face of the constant deep state undermining of his presidency, the unlawful conduct of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice, the Internal Revenue Service, and other government agencies with deep state actors who've intentionally sabotaged our domestic and foreign policy. On top of that, the willing accomplices in the media and the lies. Watch my video from today, folks. What did I call that video? Obfuscation or something like that. Let me just check out what I called that video. Now I'm drawing a blank. I did a video earlier today. It's about 18 minutes, 16 minutes. And this video was obfuscation, distorting Trump. This is because of a USA Today article in which talked about his interview with, what's her name? I'm drawing a blank there real quick. The journalist who used to be with Fox. She's now in the I thought I had it written down here. Anyway, yeah. So there was a CBS interview with Donald Trump, and the USA Today chose to write the story and talk about Trump. Why is it saying no? It says not monetized. How much money have I lost? 244 people watched it already. Probably a couple pennies. But so Donald Trump, the USA Today chose to lie about him and tell fictional stories instead of focusing on the story. They basically, let me find it very quickly here. So this is the story from the USA Today. All right, this is the story I wrote. Trump says more white people are killed by police while studies show black people are more likely to be killed. Yeah, and the two aren't related. They're totally separate topics. It's not germane. President Donald Trump claimed Tuesday that more white people died at the hands of police, despite studies that show black people are more likely to be killed by law enforcement. Well, first off, the author states categorically as a fact that more black people are likely to be killed by law enforcement, which is true, by the way. I'm not disputing that. But then she claims that Donald Trump, he didn't claim, he stated factual information. This is a matter of public record. And then in the article, like all good leftist liars do, later in the article, down here on the second page, where nobody's getting to and reading this, by numbers alone, a Washington Post analysis found that in about 5 years of police shooting data. Now, first off, this is about people dying in police custody. Now we're only talking about shootings, another separate topic altogether. See how they obfuscate and they put smoke and mirrors out there to confuse people? This article, as Trump said, more white people are killed by police every year. That's a true statement. More than any other group. And of course there'll be more. There's 226 million white people in this country. There's 45 million black people. Of course more white people are going to die, just as a happenstance of the size of the population. Unless, of course, they're intentionally only targeting black people, then only black people. But that's clearly not the case. So later in the story, the truth comes out. By numbers alone, a Washington Post analysis found that in about 5 years of police shooting data, 2,495 white people, 1,301 black people, and 907 Hispanic people were shot and killed by police. For white people, the number is 13 per million, blacks is 31 per million, and for Hispanics, it's 23 people per million. Okay, now there's another problem with this story, and it's highlighted in pink, if you can see it there. If you see, it says there that white people, notice that white is not capitalized. Black is capitalized, Hispanic is capitalized. Now, what's the problem with that, ladies and gentlemen? It's an intentional effort to be diminutive towards white people. Well, let me explain this. In the context of South Africa, whenever I write about South Africa and I say white and black, I always capitalize. Now, why do I do that? Because those are recognized distinctions in South Africa, historical, and they still carry forward. So when I talk about black people in South Africa, I always use black not as a color, but as an ethnic grouping. And as I know, there's Xhosa, and there's Zulu, and there's Venda, and there's Basotho, and there's lots of other people. That's not the point. The point is they identify people by skin color who identify culture in that group, so they're listed capitalized. And I do the same with white. In the United States, white, black, and Hispanic, the only word that should be capitalized in those three is Hispanic, because that's a proper name, a proper noun. White is an adjective. Black is an adjective. But now, the media is italicizing black while not italicizing white. Talk about bigotry and racism. There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen, right in our face. Anyway, so this article is just disingenuous, dishonest, and it goes on. So let me read one more thing from it, then I'll get off this topic. Black people are killed in police encounters. Now we're talking about police encounters. Here she's talking about shootings. Here she's talking about encounters. Make up your mind, lady. What is you're talking about there, Janine Santucci from USA Today? Black people are killed in police encounters at higher rates than white people. True. Trump never disputed that. He wasn't talking about it. Multiple studies have confirmed. Yeah, we don't dispute that. Welcome to the party, lady. You finally learned this. Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white men, according to University of Michigan, Rutgers University, and Washington University study released last year. Whoop-de-doo. That's not germane. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. Has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Donald Trump didn't dispute. He didn't claim that whites died in a higher proportion. He said that more white people are killed than any other group. And actually, that's not his exact words. That's my opinion. So the study found that 100 black men per 100,000, 39 white men per 100,000 are killed by police. It doesn't bother to mention Hispanics. Yeah, interesting. Now, this is the most dishonest piece of the whole thing here. Trump's assertion that, and by the way, in quotes, as if it's not legitimate or real, Trump's assertion that more white people are killed by police than black people, white in lowercase, black uppercase, white than black people, is true only when the proportion of those killed to the overall population of white and black people in the country is not taken into account. What? What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with reality. True fact. See, this is what the leftists do. They take true facts and they obfuscate and distort the narrative and the story by bringing irrelevant information in here. If you want to have, it's like the question was asked in by Catherine Herridge. That's what it was. Catherine Herridge, the former Fox News national security journalist who now works for CBS News. You know those guys. The same network where Dan Rather worked. You know Dan Rather, the guy that fabricated a story claiming that George Bush got out of Vietnam service by getting out of drills and yada, 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 and lied. Basically fabricated the whole story. He was a fraud. Dan Rather, or as I call him, Dan Blather. That's the network home of that guy, the head of their news broadcast for decades. Anyway, that's the CBS. So CBS runs this story, and Catherine Herridge, who's been a fine journalist, asked a question about, what did she say? This is the question Catherine Herridge had. Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country? Now, that's an asinine question. The question should have been, why do you think people are still dying in police custody? What's the cause of people dying in police custody? That's a fair question. Now, if she wanted to say, why are African Americans dying in higher proportions in police custody than any other ethnic group? That's a legitimate question. That's worthy of debate. That's a topic to talk about. And I have answers for that. Biggest answer is there's a reason for it. Black men tend to live in places where crime is higher. Now, notice I didn't say black men commit crime higher. That's not what I'm saying. That may or may not be the case depending on the locale. What I'm saying is that they tend to live in places like urban centers where crime is higher, or low-income areas where crime is higher for a variety of reasons. So if you live in a place where crime is higher, and your group is the exclusive group living there, or the predominant group there, then guess who's going to be arrested the most for committing crimes? Most likely. This is one of the reasons why black men. Another reason is because of the statutes on mandatory sentencing for drug offenses, which are just now being rescinded by the Trump administration after being imposed by Sleepy Joe Biden as a senator and Bill Clinton as president and Hillary Clinton cheering them on back in the early 1990s. Mandatory sentencing for drug offenses. Yeah. That's why more black men are involved. And there's also cultural issues here too, which people are afraid to talk about. But probably the biggest issue here, why more black men are incarcerated, is because 78% of black children are born out of wedlock in this country to single parents. Single parents, 78%. Nearly 8 out of 10 black children in this country are born out of wedlock. Now, don't infer that I'm saying that religion is important, that you must be married, that that's... No. But any rational, reasonable person who is thinking cogently and is not in a culture of victimization will listen to the argument and say that children, all things being equal, yes, their parents are abusive, they're child molesters, they're incest, there's abuse, yeah, all things being equal. If you have the opportunity to have one honest, devoted, loving parent, or you have two, and I didn't even say the same sex or different sex, I'm not even bringing that in issue, but two parents, so they can divide the time and inculcate the right values and raise you the proper way, to teach you right from wrong, to respect and value human life, to respect and value people of other genders. Two parents, the odds are you're going to graduate high school. Odds are good. If you're interested in going to college, you're going to have a chance to go to college and you're going to live a decent life. I'm not attacking single parents. People will assume that. This is not what the conversation is. That's just a fact what I said. The nuclear family is the key to success. That doesn't mean that single parents aren't successful. Many are. Herculean efforts to raise kids with great values and inculcate them and have them be successful. But when 78% of kids are born out of wedlock, that's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Black lives matter? Do they really? Then why don't the fathers marry the mothers of 78% of these kids? Now, if you think I'm just attacking black parents, no, I'm not. 45% of Hispanic children in this country are born out of wedlock. So now I don't like blacks and Hispanics. No. 25% of white kids in this country are born out of wedlock. 25%, ladies and gentlemen. And no, they're not all teen pregnancies. 25%. And before the leftists get all excited and go, well, these are lifestyle choices. These are professional women. Bull crap. That's a small number of people. A 38-year-old single woman like Jodie Foster who wants to have a child. No. That's a small number. This is a consequence of the breakdown of the nuclear family and the breakdown in values. And they get away with it by attacking religion and blaming it on religion. No. You have to have morality. Whether you have religion or not, you have to have morality. You have to know right from wrong. You have to raise children properly. And that's part of the problem, what's going on here. Absolutely part of the problem. But we can't discuss that. Well, I can. But the mainstream media can't discuss it. And so they attack Trump with a misleading, distorted article out here, changing the narrative. Donald Trump simply stated the truth. By the way, there's one more thing to this article I should mention that appears in the video. So I went to search for the video, and what did I find? I found a video on CBS News, so I could watch the interview with Donald Trump, and it says, Trump says this, and this. So I watched the video. It's 7 minutes. It's not even the interview with Trump. It's clickbait, intended to get me to watch the news program live last night when they showed the whole interview. This was just little snippets that they intentionally clipped to make Trump look bad. And it was an interview with Catherine Heritage. So disingenuous, dishonest. Herman Bruce donated 7 Rand through the Super Chat. Thank you so much, Herman. Really appreciate that. Very kind of you. And Herman's getting tired. He's going to bed. I'm going to finish up here in about next 9 minutes, folks. But I want to get this done on Trump so you guys are up to speed on this. So in this story, CBS News itself talks about Trump, defending Confederate flags, yada, yada, yada. And that's not what he did. And, of course, they like to run around with their nonsense with dog whistles and all that, but that's nonsense. So in this discussion here, she asked him about Confederate flags. And he basically said that it's all I say is freedom of speech. It's very simple. My attitude is freedom of speech. Very strong views on the Confederate flag. He's not talking about himself. He's talking about other people. The context, I heard it. With me, it's freedom of speech. Very simple. Like it, don't like it, it's freedom of speech. Asked if he would be comfortable with his supporters displaying a flag at political events, Trump said, it depends on what your definition is, but I am comfortable with freedom of speech. And then he says, and they don't bother to mention this, what they say is he supports Confederate flags. But here's the full story, ladies and gentlemen, and you can see the quote if you find it for yourself. This is the actual news, and that's why it's not being reported by the media. Now, I disagree with Trump, but this is what he says. I just think it's freedom of speech, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's Confederate flags or Black Lives Matter or anything else you want to talk about, it's freedom of speech. So what did Donald Trump just do there? He just said that Black Lives Matter have a right to freedom of speech in this country. Now, I disagree. I think it's a terrorist group. Now, the logo Black Lives Matter, that's not terrorism, but the people actually involved in the political movement are terrorists and need to be declared as such. But Donald Trump is saying that people can have their free speech and say this, whether they believe in Black Lives Matter or they believe in the Confederate flag for whatever reason. By the way, the Confederate flag is not a symbol of slavery. I'm not defending it. I don't really care for it. I don't like that you see it on NASCAR. It never was my thing. But historically, accuracy is what matters here. That is the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia. Robert E. Lee's army, that was the battle flag of that army. It was later adopted late in the 19th century and sometimes in the early 20th century by Jim Crow era governments in southern states. And yes, it was put on flags, and yes, those people did that because many of them were racist, and it was about white supremacy for those people. But that's not what the flag is about. Just like the swastika is not a representative symbol of Nazism. Unfortunately, Indians can't happily show the symbol anymore. It's an Indian symbol, an Aryan symbol from India. A good luck symbol, the Hakenkreuz, but it's been corrupted by others. Same with the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia. Anyway, an army, by the way, my ancestors fought against repeatedly, the Army of Northern Virginia, at Gettysburg, at Antietam, at Spotsylvania, at Cold Harbor. Civil War, 8 great-great-grandparents, male, who could have fought in the war. 7 of them fought in the war. All 7 of my ancestors fought for Union regiments in Maryland and West Virginia. That's correct, ladies and gentlemen. West Virginia, a state that exists because they didn't want any part of slavery, and they broke away from the state of Virginia in 1863 and joined the Union as an independent state. There you go. Anyway, so these lies. So Donald Trump says Black Lives Matter have freedom of speech, as do people who support the Confederate flag. And the story is painted as He's misleading people about white people being killed. They're not the most people. In fact, they are. The story itself tells the truth by giving the numbers. 2,495 white people shot by police. Of course, we can't capitalize white. Who knows why? 1,301 black people. About half as many. And 907 Hispanic people. Anyway, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the story there. I hope you enjoyed the South Tyrol discussion today. And I got the impression people did enjoy the discussion of my war story there about Entebbe, which was kind of cool. Actually, it's a good experience. I meant to write actually an article about it sometime. I've never gotten around to it. Let me see if I've caught everything here. Making sound. What's that? That's repetitive. Yeah, Yanni, thank you. I saw that. People want to join. Yeah, there's the link to join and become a member of the channel. Please check it out. Yanni's put it in there. It's a little further back up the stream. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that, Yanni. 71 members, guys. Not even a month. We'll hit a month in 2 days. That's really cool. That's better than I hoped for. It's really cool. By the way, for those who are wondering, it's not a money-making venture. If you're South African and you join at the basic level, I get like 40 US cents for your month of membership. That's a little over a penny a day. So it's not about the money. It's about being part of the community. And it's just a small commitment. So that's really what it's about. Trump is a lion. I agree. I don't know if I answered your entire question there, Cobus, about Trump. Let me get back to it before I get off the air in just a couple minutes. Do I think he'll win the election? In January, hands down, Trump was on top of the world. It was all flowing smoothly. He had defeated the fraudulent impeachment effort to unseat him by unscrupulous Democratic politicians and their slimy cohorts in the Republican Party. By the way, I don't like Trump. It sounds like I like Trump. I don't like him. I did vote for him, and I will vote for him again. But I don't like the guy. I don't like him. But his opponent, the guy's comatose. He's not even an opponent. And the previous opponent was a felon. Yes, Hillary Clinton's a felon. Whether she likes it or not, she's a felon. I know what the federal statute is on espionage. I know what it is. And she committed espionage. Intentional or not, it doesn't matter. She committed espionage, whether she did it or not. She violated the Espionage Act. Yes. And by that, I don't mean she betrayed the country, but she compromised classified information. And whether she did it knowingly or not, it doesn't matter. She's prosecutable under it. So she committed a felony, but she did it knowingly. I think Donald Trump in January is going to win for sure. By June, I thought his re-election was going to be difficult. Now I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable because people are like sheep. They're falling for the narrative. And they're actually believing all this nonsense that Trump's responsible for deaths when he doesn't even control what happened in New York. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, the number of deaths in New York could be cut in half if the state of New York didn't take COVID positive patients and stick them in nursing homes with the elderly. Yeah, there's a good recipe for success. You have a nursing home where nobody's infected and a lot of old people with underlying health problems, and you put people who have COVID-19 in the nursing homes with them. What do you think is going to happen? Same thing happened here in Pennsylvania. In the early stage of this, when we had 4,000 deaths, 1,800 of them, or something like that, were in nursing homes. That's not Trump's fault. He has no control over that. He has national authority over that. I think he'll still win the election. And Tian wants more war stories. Okay, cool. Yanni is Altide Waka. What that means, I don't know what Waka is. Awake? Okay. Orange Man, good. Do you know anything about Caxton newspapers? Notorious G, I do know something about Caxton newspapers. Not sure what you want to know. Actually, not just Caxton newspapers, they also publish academic journals as well, but I do know something about them. Is it true the majority of black people shot by cops are shot by black cops? I don't know the stat on that, Gareth, but I believe that's not wildly inaccurate. I think that's not too far off the mark. In fact, a lot of white people are shot by black cops. Now, does that mean black cops are more prone to shoot people? No, it's just the circumstances where people find themselves at. This, hands up, don't shoot me nonsense. I saw clips of white people shot by black officers, including a guy in his vehicle was pulled over by 2 black officers, and they told him to put his hands outside the car. He stuck his hands outside the driver's side. His 7-year-old son was in the car, and they opened fire, wounding him and killing his 7-year-old. He did exactly what he's told to do. Another video of a white man who was, I don't know if he was on something or he wasn't well. They were screaming at him, black cop, in the hallway, telling him to get to the ground. He went to the ground, and they told him to crawl over. He crawled over, and he put his arm behind his back because his back was hurting, and said, don't reach, and then just lit him up. They shot him like 30 sometimes, killed him. It's unfortunate that these police officers aren't trained to have better discipline than that. but this is white people murdered by black cops. By the way, those cops were acquitted. They never got charged. Never got charged with a murder or homicide. They got away with it. The video is available. You can find it. Anyway, it's just nonsense. Insidious left-wing cock. Sack of cock. Hashtag sack of cock. That's right. Good night, Jacques. We call that EFF English. That's good. Gangs are a problem in America. Cobus, gangs are a problem in major metropolitan areas and certain ones. They've become a much deeper problem ever since the United States allowed MS-13 people to slide across our border for a period of 30 years. Now, MS-13 is not the only gang. We have other gangs in this country, but MS-13 has exacerbated the gang problem and created a gang problem in cities where it didn't exist before. Now we have gang problems in D.C., in Philadelphia. We've always had them in New York, and of course we have them in Los Angeles. But yeah, gangs are a problem, but that has again to do back with social circumstances. You know, when kids don't have anything to turn to, they become susceptible to this and they get a foothold. Lecker stripper chat. Okay. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Term limits. Notorious T, what are term limits? By law, you can only serve so many terms. So for instance, the President of the United States has a term limit. You can serve 2 terms, 4 years and 4 years. Now, they don't have to be consecutive, but you can only serve 8 years, 2 terms. Hindu symbols, a mirror of the swastika. That's correct. Similar to the pentagram. Yeah, I saw that in the UK. BLM have erected a statue of black women claims to have torn down the Colson statue. Yeah, they did. They tore it down. She didn't tear it down, but they tore it down. She was standing there with her fist up being an ass, and so in memory of her, from her doing that a few weeks ago, they put this thing up. Well, if they can tear down Colson's statue, they can tear her statue down too. That statue wasn't put up lawfully. So anyway, have I ever been to Maine? I've been to Maine many times, Brett. Hey, Brett, good to see you there. I've been to Maine many times. I love Maine. I've been to Acacia National Park. I nearly bought some forest land about 5 miles from the Canadian border up there, because I consider becoming a resident of Maine. I love Maine. The only problem is there's too many left-wingers in charge of the government. But a beautiful place, and I like the weather, although the mosquitoes are vicious in the summertime. Blakeman enjoyed the stories. Sorry for joining late. I was watching some videos of the 20th Maine from the Civil War. Yeah, 20th Maine's amazing. And right down the street, Gettysburg, walked down there many times. Brett says Biden has dementia. Yeah, he doesn't know where he's at. Trump will not only win, but he will increase his voter base. Yeah, I think that's actually the truth, but it's you can't believe the polls because the polls are not, they're weighted the wrong way. On average, most polls, including the reliable ones like Rasmussen and Quinnipiac, tend to oversample liberals or Democrats just by 7 to 9% or 10% usually. Did I see the movie Lakeview Terrace with Samuel Jackson? No, I haven't seen it. Maine have crabs, not the good blue crabs that Maryland has. Maine has lobster. Armed society is a polite society. I agree, Sean. Goya Foods profit has actually increased. Yeah, speaking of which, going to the supermarket tomorrow, and we'll be purchasing Goya beans, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Goya. Been buying it for years, but now we'll buy them extensively. Bush's isn't going to lose my business, but Goya is going to be getting more business because I don't care for tyrants who try to cancel a company. Now, the irony is that Goya also spoke well of Barack Obama. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was nowhere to be heard when he was speaking well of Barack Obama. But because he said something nice about Donald Trump, his company of $1.5 billion in annual sales, the largest Hispanic-owned food company in America, with 4,000 employees, should be canceled by her? By her? A bartender that can't pay her credit card bills? A bartender that no one talks to? And what good is a bartender if they don't talk to their clients? Please. I don't tolerate that nonsense. Boycotting companies because you're angry about them, if you just don't want to use them, that's fine. I don't go to Starbucks anymore. Effective today, they're requiring a mask to go in the store. So, Tsek Starbucks. Tsek. Who are you to dictate to me that I have to wear a rag over my face, hindering my ability to breathe with my medical condition because of your bigotry and discrimination? Now, I'm a shareholder, so I'm really angry about that. This is a stupid move on the part of Starbucks to dictate nationally 9,000 stores across this country in states where there's virtually no cases of COVID-19 that people must wear a mask. Not even the rule in that state. Anyway, this is hysteria run amok. But remember, this is the same company that a few years ago suggested that you walk into Starbucks here in the United States and have a conversation about race with your barista. Yeah, I was thinking about race today, In the meantime, the queue backs up out the door as angry customers are like, what the hell are you people talking about? I want a cup of coffee. Shut your yak hole, move your cake hole out of the way, and let me get my coffee. You want to talk about race? Do that after hours. Idiotic. This company, just like so many companies, rises on innovation and creativity and entrepreneurship. And once they've got assured revenue flow and billions coming in, they lose the plot. And that's exactly what Starbucks has done yet again. Lost the plot. God. Free goya beans for all. Just one other thing. Were you in Germany? Did you see the Torture Museum in Rothenburg? I did, Blakeman. It is. It's a medieval crime museum. I have. I've been to Rothenburg Obertalba several times. It's a pretty cool place. It's not the only city like that, old walled city. There's a few others still. Dinkelsbühl is one of them in Germany. Dinkelsbühl is actually one of the first places I ever went back in the 1980s on an exercise. I went down to Dinkelsbühl. And what happened is, in the military, we weren't allowed to go to Dinkelsbühl. I was sitting on a hilltop, beautiful location down there, not too far from Kreilsheim, and was out in the woods, and we finally got to go in after about 10 days for a shower run to the Hallenbad, which is the indoor swimming pool. And so we got in the Dusenhaft truck in the back, jumped in the back with my rucksack and my stuff, my toothbrush and soap and all that, and brush and all those things, clean underwears and clean uniform, and we went into town. Well, the driver went into the wrong town. We went into Dinkelsbühl, which was off limits. Dinkelsbühl is a historic, beautiful tourist town, and he stopped in town because they're trying to figure out where they're at. So we piled out of the back of the 5-ton, or the Dusenhaft, and we're standing around in our fatigues, looking around in Dinkelsbühl going, oh, this is kind of cool. And so I got to come back here. So I did go back there several times over the course of many years. But I've been to Rothenburg Obertalba. It's a place you got to go at least once, but it's really just a tourist town. But yeah, I have been there. It's pretty cool. Cobus says, just before you go, I know I'm new to the stream, but I'll be here for long term. Love all the knowledge of war stories. Well, Cobus, thank you so much. By the way, Cobus, where are you coming in from? Let me know where you're coming from. I'm curious. I always like to know where people are coming in from. Just one thing. Oh, and Brett says, did you see the Stasi Museum in Germany? No, I've never seen the Stasi. I've only been to East Germany a few times. I've been to Berlin many times, but I've only been in East Germany, which is not really East Germany, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. East Germany is actually Middle Germany, Mitteldeutschland. East Germany would be Ostpreußen, Pommern, Schlesien, that would be Pomerania, East Prussia, and Silesia. That's East Germany. But that land was given by the treasonous bastards named Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin to the Poles after they were defrauded of the eastern portion of Poland and given to Belarusia and the Soviet Union. And then Prussia was divided, and it was given to Poland and the Soviet Union. Hence, we have Kaliningrad today, which is actually not Kaliningrad. That's a Soviet name for a town. That's not really. It's Königsberg. Kobus says, saw you on Ronaldo the other night, came over your channel and subbed right away. Well, thanks a lot, Kobus. Really appreciate that. You didn't say where you're from, so I bet where you're from, where you live. You don't have to tell me, like, I live at 33, Harmony Lane. No, what part of the country you're living? I was just curious if you'd like to share it. And Kung Fu Kenny says, thanks for the stream. Kung Fu Kenny, good to see you again. Sean says, shut your skull cave. Give me my coffee so I can get my fix. Torture Museum is eye-opening. You should see some of the things that happen. Listen, the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson, what they did to William Wallace, where they dug his entrails out, that was a form of torture. They disemboweled people when they were alive. Can you imagine cutting your stomach open and tearing out their entrails while you're alive? What a vicious and brutal way to die. Horrible. Yeah, unbelievable. There's that. What was I going to say? Oh, and if you're in South Africa, one place you should check out is Sterkfontein. You should go there and see the Cradle of Humankind. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Nice museum. You go down in the caves. I've done that. And that's in the Mahalisburg. It's not far from Johannesburg or Pretoria, just northwest of Johannesburg, or slightly southwest of Pretoria, kind of west. You go out there and you can make a day of it. Go out, check out the Sterkfontein Caves and the museum, and then go quad bike riding very close by, or go horseback riding, or go hot air ballooning. Man, South Africa has got amazing stuff to do right there, and most of them don't even know about it. Never even go there. You got to check it out if you're in the area. So, I should do a stream on films, maybe. I did talk about a few films. I've talked about The Battle for Algiers, and I've talked about what's the one? Jadotville, the siege of Jadotville. Say horseback, flying to Lanseria and short drive. Yeah, there you go. When I think of Idi Amin, Brett, Idi Amin was a nut job, psychotic, and what he did to Ethiopia was horrific. What he did to the Indians and the Asians in Ethiopia was even worse. Really sad stuff. All right, folks, I did say I was going to cut off at about an hour and a half. Not to cut you guys short. Tomorrow, Joe Emilio live, 12 Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S., 6 p.m. in Gaborone and in South Africa, 5 p.m. in Namibia, Abuja, and also in London. And that's tomorrow. Special feature live stream with Joe Emilio, bringing you up to date with his current legal situation and cancel culture. And then I'll do a live stream after that for Straight Voltage. Anyway, so there you go. Friday, I haven't heard back, but Marabani, the plan is to have him on as a special feature. Saturday, I hope to have David Otto on for a discussion about security in Africa. David Otto is a security specialist, runs his own private firm. And last year I went to London, in which I spoke at a conference that he hosted about repatriating ISIS and Daesh fighters, their spouses, and their children from the caliphate to the US, UK, around the world, Germany, Denmark, wherever these ghouls came from. How do you do it? What's it all about? And what's the best approach to it? So I did that last year. It was kind of interesting. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. Did someone else come in here real quick? Oh, anyway, you guys are whinging about something else. I've never been to the Red Terror Museum in Addis Ababa, Brett, but I'm very familiar and lived in neighborhoods where women were taken out, gang raped, and then murdered, their throats cut, shot in the streets. It was horrific, the Red Terror. Absolutely horrific what happened in Ethiopia, and most of the world knows nothing about it. It's really, really sad. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Please tune in tomorrow, folks. Watch my videos. Check out the one about distorting the issue with Trump. It's interesting. I think it's interesting. I wouldn't have made it. And I'll be preparing some more videos. Cool. Anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to it. Let me double check and see if I need to give credit. I think there was a couple super chats here. So let me see what the super chats were. I don't think any new members signed up. Let me see. Membership, we are still at 71 for the channel. But on super chats, we did get a super chat or two here today. And that was Anthony gave one for the situational awareness test back when I was talking about the war stories. And Herman gave one because he was dozing off. I must have bored him, heading out. And let me just look at membership. We've jumped up there, getting closer to 4,500. Thank you so much for subscribers for joining the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, it's, as always, been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for your patronage, for sticking with me and enjoying it. Morton says, my Jack Russell knows more about politics. You guys, stop beating up on other people. For the Master and Commander War Stories, please. What's that, Tian? Hang on. I want to go. What do you want for the Master Commander? Tian, send me an email. Go to the About tab on the channel. Get my email address. Send me an email to explain because I'm going to go off and I'm going to miss what you got to say. Anyway, good night, folks. God bless. Thank you so much for being on the channel. Really appreciate it. Oh, do one of the Red Terror, Brett's saying. Brett, are you a member? No, I'm just teasing. Anyway. Anyway, so yeah, so let me, I'll close out here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless and have a good evening, and thanks for tuning in, folks.